The sky was not a safe place. 66 million years ago, the world was ending. It just didn't know it yet. The air was thick, humid, rich with oxygen and the scent of rotting vegetation. In the region we now call Texas, the inland sea was retreating, leaving behind vast floodplains, open marshes, and forests of conifer and palm that stretched to the horizon. On the ground, the Tyrannosaurus rex walked as a god, a biological machine of muscle and bone that had no natural predator. But if you looked up, if you looked past the canopy of the cypress trees, past the clouds drifting heavily in the tropical heat, you would see something that defied physics. A shadow. Not the fleeting shadow of a bird, but a shadow that lingered. A darkness that moved across the land like a storm front. It was the size of a Spitfire fighter plane. It was the height of a bull giraffe. And it was alive. This was not a dinosaur. It was something older, something distinct. It was the absolute limit of biology, the final argument for how large a living thing could grow and still defy gravity. We call it Quetzalcoatlus. To understand this creature is to abandon everything you know about birds. Birds are hollow bones and feathers. They are delicate. Quetzalcoatlus was a fortress. It was an Azhdarchid, a family of pterosaurs that had evolved to dominate not just the coastline, but the interior. For centuries, we looked at the fossil record and saw only fragments, shattered hollow bones, confusing geometry. The human mind struggles to scale up a flying animal to this magnitude. We assume it must have been light, fragile, a glider that waited for the wind. We were wrong. In 1971, a geology graduate student named Douglas Lawson was walking through the heat of Big Bend National Park, the Javelina Formation, a harsh, unforgiving landscape of rock and dust. He wasn't looking for monsters. He was mapping the Earth. But embedded in the sandstone of an ancient arroyo, he found a bone. It was a wing bone, but it was too long, too thick. It looked like a structural beam from a collapsed building. Lawson knew immediately that the scale was off. If this bone belonged to a pterosaur, the animal attached to it would have been larger than anything ever discovered. He brought the fragments back. He pieced together the impossible. A wingspan of 36 to 39 feet, broader than a Lear jet. Standing on the ground, it looked a man in the eye and then looked down on him. 18 feet tall at the shoulder. A beak that was longer than a human body. Sharp. Toothless. A lance made of bone. Lawson named it after the Aztec feathered serpent god, Quetzalcoatl, the deity of wind and air and learning. The name carries a mythical weight, but the reality of the animal was far more grounded and far more terrifying. For decades, paleontologists argued about how it lived. They looked at its size and said it was a vulture, a scavenger that circled high above the dying herds, waiting for a T-Rex to finish a meal. They said it was too heavy to take off, that it had to throw itself off cliffs to generate lift. that it was a prisoner of the wind. But the bones tell a different story. A story of muscular violence. You have to imagine the creature on the ground. It did not hop like a robin. It folded its massive wings up. The membrane, a complex structure of muscle fibers and blood vessels, tucked tight against its body. Its forelimbs were enormous. Thick wrists, shoulders packed with fast-twitch muscle fibers. It walked on 4 legs, stalking through the ferns, moving with a strange, terrifying grace, like a stork the size of a building. And when it needed to fly, it did not wait for a breeze. It did not run for a cliff. It detonated. Biomechanics suggest a maneuver called the quad launch. It would crouch down, tensing those massive forelimbs, and then vault itself into the air. 500 pounds of animal firing upward with the force of a catapult. In a fraction of a second, it would clear the ground. The wings would snap open, blocking out the sun. And with a single downstroke, it was gone. Master of the troposphere, capable of crossing continents, capable of flying from North America to Europe without landing. But it was on the ground that it was most dangerous. The old art shows it skimming the water like a pelican, catching fish. But the neck of Quetzalcoatlus was stiff. It couldn't bend easily to skim the waves. Its beak was not built to scoop water. It was built to pick apart flesh. This was a terrestrial stalker. It hunted in the shadows of the dinosaurs. Imagine a Cretaceous floodplain, a herd of Alamosaurus moving through the mist, massive, long-necked titans shaking the earth. And walking between their legs is the Quetzalcoatlus, unbothered, unafraid. It is looking for the weak, the small, the young. It would snatch a baby dinosaur up in that 9-foot beak. There was no chewing, no tearing, just a tilt of the head, and the prey was swallowed whole. It was a nightmare for anything smaller than a horse. It filled a niche that shouldn't have existed. A flying reptile that hunted like a terror bird. Apex predator of the undergrowth. King of the skies. It had no enemies. A healthy adult Quetzalcoatlus could stare down a mid-sized tyrannosaur. Its beak could pierce the heart of a predator before the predator could close the distance. It was the pinnacle of pterosaur evolution. 150 million years of natural selection leading to this moment. The perfect biological glider. The perfect terrestrial hunter. It seemed invincible. But evolution cannot predict the stars. The dominance of Quetzalcoatlus was absolute, but it was fragile. It relied on a specific ecosystem. It relied on a world that was warm. A world where thermal currents rose from the hot earth to carry its massive bulk. It needed vast amounts of food to fuel that metabolism, to power the quad launch, to keep the biological furnace burning. And then, the sky changed. 66 million years ago, a rock 6 miles wide slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact didn't just kill the things near it, it broke the atmosphere. The shockwaves circled the planet. Forests burned instantly thousands of miles away. Tsunamis the height of mountains scoured the coastlines. But it wasn't the fire that killed the Quetzalcoatlus. It was the silence that followed. Dust and ash choked the upper atmosphere. The sun was blotted out. Not by wings this time, but by death. The temperatures plummeted. The warm thermal currents that the giant relied on for efficient flight disappeared. The air became cold and still. The plants died. The herbivores died. The baby dinosaurs it hunted vanished. Quetzalcoatlus was a specialist. It was designed for a world of plenty, a world of heat. It could not adapt to the cold. It could not scavenge enough scraps to fuel a 500-pound body. One by one, the flying fortresses were grounded, too weak to launch, too hungry to hunt. They huddled in the dying forests, watching a sky that had turned against them. The reign of the giants ended not with a roar, but with a shiver. When the dust finally settled, years later, the sky was empty. The shadows were gone. The only things left in the air were the birds. Small, scrappy, generalists that could hide in burrows and eat seeds. The era of the dragon was over, buried in the rock of West Texas, waiting for a man named Lawson to walk by and wonder at the size of a bone that shouldn't exist. We look at the sky today and we see freedom. We see birds singing. But if you close your eyes and listen to the wind moving through the canyons of Big Bend, you can almost hear the sound of leathery wings, 30 feet across, cutting the air. A reminder that once, we were not the owners of this planet, and the sky belonged to monsters. It is a humbling thought that nature can build something so magnificent and then snuff it out in a single weekend.